in the real estate company. We've got 23 employees and 14 of them are over in Egypt. High level stuff too, like our sales manager, our marketing and data manager, one of our dispo people do their job as well as anybody could do in the States, are way more motivated and do it from across the ocean. It's not always easy to find those people, but when you do, they can absolutely be a game changer.
Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll, and I'm here with Sean Grabow. What's going on, man?
How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. So today we're going to be talking about VAs, and Sean does a little bit differently. So Sean's a real estate investor doing the massive amount of deals and also has found a way to work with VAs and help scale his business. So Sean, give everybody a little background. First, like, how'd you even get into real estate?
I was kind of unemployable in every other industry, so I fell into real estate. I had run a small business out in California for 10 years, and I really wanted to continue to work for myself, but I wanted a change. And real estate seemed like the best transition to be able to be, not working for somebody else, but have an opportunity to gain freedom and help people out.
That's cool. When did you get into real estate?
Beginning of 2018.
Yeah, 6 years, right?
Yep.
And everybody says a lot of deals. Like, how many deals are you doing a year?
We do over 200 deals. We do about 20, 25 a month. We close 20 deals a month. We put 25 to 30 in contract. You probably 60% wholesale. And then we cherry pick the best rentals and flips to keep in house.
Yeah. So I just want to give everyone context, because a lot of deals sometimes means one a month, 20 a month's a different ballgame, So
yeah.
that's scaling up. So it's pretty respectable. And then what made you want to do real estate? Like, what makes you tick?
That's a good question. I love to travel a lot. So I like with real estate, most of what I do can be done over the phone, over the computer. I get a good amount of freedom. Spend at least 3 or 4 months out of the year traveling. I guess I didn't know this when I started. I didn't plan on building a big team, but one thing that's given me a lot of passion as time has gone on is the people I work with and being able to provide a lot of the same opportunity I've gotten from real estate, being able to pass that on and give that to other people.
That's cool. How many rentals do you guys have?
Well, over 100, like 105.
That's pretty solid. And you have a business partner?
I do. Yep. Noah.
Okay, cool. That's right. I know Noah. Okay. So Sean has a lot of experience in real estate. Like, you're an investor by trade, but we're going to talk about VAs today because that's really allowed you to scale. So tell everybody a little background on, like, first, how did you realize, because you do VAs different and you have VAs from different parts of the country than most people do. How'd you even start doing that?
So funny story, it was probably right when I got into real estate about 5 years ago. I got on Upwork and I started looking for, cold callers or, somebody like an admin assistant. And like, I'll say this, I did very poorly with VAs for the first couple of years, but I recognize, I like this whole model of having somebody around the world who was extremely motivated, who like had this skill set, but could work virtually. It really set something off. Like I'd never bought stock my entire life, but within a month of discovering Upwork, I'd bought $5,000 worth of Upwork. And I was super impatient. So when it went down, I sold it. But like, I definitely was like, this is a disruptor. Like, this is something that has the potential to really change the way business is done. But, like a lot of things I do, I tried it without like putting a lot of thought into it. I failed a little bit. And then I started to get better with virtual assistants, but I still used like a third party like we do a lot of outbound marketing, always have done a lot of outbound marketing. And so I settled on, using an agency to do my outbound marketing. I did have one lead manager who worked directly for me, who had worked with us for a couple of years. And he actually told me that he had worked for the company that was doing my cold calling that I was actually really happy with. And after him, in my ear for probably, 3 or 6 months of wanting to allow me to have him do the cold calling, I finally, I've always been a big advocate. You got to split test your marketing. So I finally gave him a few cold callers and did some A to B testing. And within probably 6 weeks, he was starting to match and beat their results. And I was like, okay, this is like, let's go all in, Zane. You're going to take over all the cold calling. You're going to take over all of the text messaging and then start sourcing lead managers. So that's how I fell into it.
I actually started digital marketing on Upwork. So I know it from like the marketing side, but you're right. I've tried hiring people on there too. And it's like, you got to talk to a whole bunch of people, do a whole bunch of paid tests because especially in the VA space, it's really, really hard. So it's like spinning your wheels. So you're lucky.
It is a good amount of luck. Once you find somebody who's solid, like, it's a total game changer. In the real estate company, we've got 23 employees and 14 of them are over in Egypt, and like high level stuff too. Like our sales manager, our marketing and data manager, one of our dispo people do their job as well as anybody could do in the States, are way more motivated and, do it from across the ocean. So it's not always easy to find those people, but when you do, they can absolutely be a game changer.
Yeah. So let's talk about Egypt, because I know most people that I talk to, when they talk VAs, are talking the Philippines or South America, things like that. Yeah. I don't really know anybody working with people in Egypt other than you. Like, what do you find is different with people in Egypt versus other countries?
Especially on the sales side, like they're just natural negotiators. I've been over to Egypt probably, like I'm about to go over there for my 7th time in the last 2.5 years here in a few weeks. And like every single piece of life is negotiated, everything you could buy, every service. It's just a way of life there. So like I've worked with a lot of people from the Philippines and had good experiences, but I think the big difference I've noticed is Egyptians are very like, I guess people from the Philippines can be conflict avoidant. They don't like to ruffle feathers. Maybe if they hear no, 1,000 times in a day, it might kind of affect their attitude a little bit. With the people I've worked with in Egypt, completely different. They just, they're relentless. They're really good negotiators. They have a lot of perseverance. And then, I don't know, Egypt's a massive country. It's over 100 million people. So with that, there's just very highly educated people who end up doing a phenomenal job.
That's cool. And I've talked with one of your guys on a call too, and like their English is really good.
That's always like with investors, that's always like one of the things that they're looking for first. So we found that there's obviously a lot of other important things, but that's like the entry level is, good, clean English. And it's funny, a lot of these people are not trained formally in school. Like a lot of times they pick it up playing video games and watching movies. And phenomenal English. And other things I've learned or like realized is it gets better. Like somebody who might start off as a 7 out of 10 after they've been here for, a year, it's like a 9 out of 10.
That makes sense because they're doing it all day and they're talking with Americans. So they're picking up on the different habits there. And
we're really big on meeting every single morning and going like, doing huddles, doing reviews, sales meetings. And then like we just all interact so much that they start to catch a lot of the lingo and learn the culture as time goes on.
That's cool. So you're talking, you have VAs running your business, but they're not in a VA position. You got them running, managing sales. Like what are some of the other positions you have these guys running?
Yeah. So, everybody starts off as a lead manager. We're big users of PI. So like what we've noticed is after somebody's really done a phenomenal job with lead management and is a top producer, there've been a couple times where like just recently, perfect example, one of our lead managers, he's able to be a top performer, but he would make less calls and have less talk time. And it was because he's very analytical. Like he wanted to do more research than necessary before he would call a lead because he's somebody who just wants a lot of information. And sure enough, I pulled up his PI and he had a horrible PI for predictive index for lead manager. But because he is like so analytical, and we were like to the point where we were wanting to hire a marketing and data manager, it was obvious transition. And he's been doing that for about 6-7 weeks and just really excelled at it. That's one of them. Our one guy, Adam, he's a sales manager. So he actually oversees acquisition managers, all the lead managers, in-person dispo person, VA dispo person. And then another one of our acquisition lead managers transitioned to dispo probably about 7 or 8 months ago. And he's capable of doing we have an in-person dispo too, so we segregate their duties or separate their duties. But he's capable of doing everything other than meeting investors in person and showing properties.
That's pretty solid. So now the interesting that I think is you figured this out, but you offer this as a service now to investors as well, right?
Yeah. So when this started working really well, probably about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I'm in a couple different masterminds and I've got a pretty big network of other investors that, I always get together, talk about, the struggles and then also what's working. And this was something that was working really good in my business. Also had like actually it was one of my business coaches was one of our first clients. He also was the operator of a pretty good sized wholesaling company. And he's, was like, man, you guys want to try this out for us? What we're doing is not working. And sure enough, Zane, my partner on the VA company, is very ambitious. And so when I threw it out to him, he's like, yeah, let's do it. So that's how it all started, was just through my network. And even today, we don't do any marketing for the VA company. It's all either friends of mine, or now we're starting to get a lot of word of mouth and referrals.
What all areas can you help people with? Obviously lead management, but like what other areas?
Well, when it started off, we thought we would do everything. So like, we do property management with VAs. We do a few admin with VAs, and we're like, okay, yeah, like we can train this. Pretty early on, we realized that was a mistake. Let's stick to, the 3 niches we know best, which is lead management, texting, and cold calling.
So now texting is a hairy animal these days. Like, where are you guys? Are you guys using a service in Egypt to text, or how do you guys do that? Or does the customer have to have the platform?
Yeah, so customer has sets up the account. It's, there are a couple big TCPA compliant texting platforms that make sure that they're following doing the manual text and all that good stuff. We just run the software for them.
Okay, so say on the lead management side, how far ahead is Egypt? Like what times?
7 hours ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so that's not too far.
One of the other things I've noticed is, because I think it's because it's always like, extremely hot there. People are just naturally night owls. Like I wake up early. I go out on the streets of Cairo at 8 or 9 in the morning. It's a ghost town. But like 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, it's hustling and bustling. So they're naturally more inclined to be up later. So, and then like, when we're working, like in my real estate company, because I utilize VAs, I'm able to kind of get 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. coverage 7 days a week.
Yeah, and that's pretty solid too, because that was what I was thinking. It's like, okay, if you're lead managing, when a lead comes in, you got to call them quick, like within a minute. So there's no problem. They'll work our shift and integrate it, and they're on the spot, like Johnny on the spot, calling quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, the other thing too is, some people have the 9 to 5. So like evening, like even just as a lead manager following up on leads, you're trying to get a hold of, sellers that are more unreachable, being able to call on the weekend and the evenings really consistently makes a huge difference.
That's pretty solid. Now, say with real estate investors, obviously you have that under wraps. Say you had a different industry come to you and say, hey, you know what, we needed a lead manager for HVAC or whatever it is. Can they do that too? Or would that be like a bottleneck? Because are you guys personally training the VAs, or how's that work?
Yeah. So I would, I will help people and give them advice on how I would approach it if I were them. We strictly only do real estate, but it's all about having good process and procedures, and then just having the right expectations. Just like hiring any other employee, they're not going to come trained as a 10 out of 10. They're going to be like a, best case scenario, maybe like a 6 out of 10. And you're going to have to invest the time up front to, integrate them into your process, teach them your buy box. And just like any other employee, the first month or two, you're probably going to have less time than you did before. But if you hired right, and you're, training right, and you have the right processes and procedures, once you get past that 1 or 2 month mark, then it's good. That's when the magic is going to happen, and it's going to be a complete game changer.
What's the average hourly rate that investors expect to pay for a VA in Egypt?
So like our cold calling is $7 an hour, 7 to 8. And then lead management's $10 an hour. Most of our clients will pay, like a small commission, because, when you're doing lead management, when you're doing sales, nothing's as motivating as a little bit of extra commission, but $7 to $10 an hour.
That's really reasonable too. What do you have any KPIs, like even from your internal business? Because lead management, let me even take a step back there. Yeah. Are they calling leads immediately when they come in and following up like forever? Yeah. Or do you have someone else calling immediately?
So the lead managers work directly for the client. So the way we source our lead managers is it's always the top 5% of our cold callers are eligible based on the cold callers KPIs. They're eligible to be promoted as a lead manager. So if, let's say, Brian, you say you want a lead manager, what I would do is I would get a couple of our best performing cold callers to interview with you. We'd also do predictive index and get that in front of you. And you would choose out of the couple candidates we put in front of you, you would choose the one that you fit would be the best fit. That person had already gotten pulled out of cold calling a few weeks ago and been retrained with sales training. They would join your system, and everybody uses lead managers differently. Some people want their lead manager to, run their own texting software or do their own cold calling, like, their hottest list, like their probate list. That's one thing I have our lead managers do, even though we cold call all of our stuff. Like, I want lead managers who are more highly trained and know my system better. I want them calling those niche lists and having a custom conversation just because, okay, I know this person's a probate lead. I know this person's a pre-foreclosure, and you're going to have a different structured conversation. So with the lead managers, everybody uses them different. And so like with our cold calling and texting, it's very hands-off. With the lead manager, we're going to get them to the point where we're comfortable handing them off to you. And then you're going to determine the best way that you want to use them within your organization.
Gotcha. Now, in your business, your lead managers you have running, say not immediate calls that come in, but you know how like you call, like out of 10 leads, you call 5 of them you might not be able to get a hold of. I would consider those get passed to the lead manager to follow up for the rest of eternity.
Yeah.
What kind of KPIs do you see with them on the follow-up being able to pull back? Like how many calls or how many leads to get a qualified appointment?
I'll give you like kind of a rundown on like what the lead managers like in my company do. One of the main things is for all of the outbound leads, the cold call and text, they're that first point of contact. So acquisitions is just talking to hot leads. So they further qualify those leads when they come in. And like what they're looking to do is either a push or set an inspection. So like determining that the lead is hot and sending it to acquisitions or setting an appointment. So that's the main metric. We also talk time, minutes of talk time per week. Another big one is getting in the dialers, how many minutes or how many dials per week you're getting there.
What's a good dialer you guys use?
Internally, we use smartphone. And then for the cold calling company, we use Ready Mode.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I hear good things about smartphone.
It's great. One thing that's integrates to CRMs really easily. So like one thing that is a game changer for us is like text leads can be really difficult to get on the phone, or, you always have your seller who's just kind of ghosting you and you can't get them on. So one thing we'll do with that is we'll put if we try 3 times to manually call and text them and we still can't get them on the phone, then we'll put them into our not yet reached dialer. And we'll get into that not yet reached dialer and we'll call them, morning, different times of the day for, maybe like a month. And then if we can't, reach them, then we'll, start sending mail or doing, a different way or categorize it differently. But yeah, smartphone's been great. That's also what we use to call like our probates and more niche lists.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. So what I'm hearing is, I always thought lead manager was just a guy calling. You're saying your lead managers can come in, follow up on leads, but they can also help with the text messaging and email follow-ups as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's really the best way to think about it is it's a junior acquisition person. Some people call them junior acquisition people or follow-up specialists or lead manager. Really at the end of the day, what their job is, and like, especially in my company, what I see their job is for the acquisition person to delegate work to them so that the acquisition person can be working on the highest level stuff, or the stuff that has to be done in person. So like our acquisition people, we want them like signing deals, going on inspections, and not necessarily doing like, most of the follow-up, like hot leads. Yeah. We want them to continue to build a relationship. If a lead's hot and there's a very high probability of it converting into a contract, but we want the acquisition people to have a ton of confidence in the lead managers, knowing that if they're going to work a lead in tandem, it's going to be done the right way. And the lead manager is going to have so much more capacity than they are. that they're going to work together to get that lead to the finish line.
Now, if someone wanted to hire a lead manager, is it only full-time or is it part-time too, or how's that work?
Yeah, we do everything full time. So, one of my things I think a lot of people notice this is when you first hire a position, you're like, oh, do I have enough work for that person to do, or what are they going to do? And, if you hired right after about a month or two, it's like, oh man, I need another one. I need somebody else. Like, how did I ever get by without this person? So that's kind of been my experience, and that's been the experience of our clients as well.
What's the top couple of predictive index profiles you see or work pretty well for lead managers?
Persuaders are definitely the number one. That's what we look for the most. Honestly, I'm not the best. Like, I know a little bit of predictive index, but I luckily have a really strong team that knows it better than I do. I'm that maverick file, so I'm just like, know a little bit about everything, and I'm kind of bouncing around, and going deep and studying is not my strong suit. But
yeah, that's why you got the team, right?
Yeah. I could make up some profiles. I don't know. I think Persuader's good.
No, I'm with you. That's cool. So if somebody wanted to chat and they wanted to hire lead manager, stuff like that, like what's the best way for people to connect with you, and how's that process look?
Yeah. So usually they shoot me an email, shoot me an IG message, go to our website and fill out a web form, res-va.com, or they can find me on Instagram at Sean Grabow, or, and then I usually jump on a call with them. I want to learn more about their business, kind of see what their needs are, what their expectations are, do a quick, 10 minutes of breaking down our business and what they would expect and how we operate, and then get them some information and see if they feel like we're a good fit to help them out.
Nice. I don't think you're charging enough either. $10 an hour is pretty cheap.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely needs to be raised in the future.
Yeah. So anyone listening, that's a pretty good deal, because you figure $400 a week, even if you only get one appointment a week, that's worth it right there, which I'm sure you get more than that, but to have a full-time person, that's huge. So I would recommend, we're going to put in the show notes Sean's website, or check him out on Instagram. Hit him up. It's probably worth the conversation. Let me ask you this, Sean. Which type of investors work best with you? Obviously, like a brand new guy in business may not be the right fit because they haven't learned, they don't know how to train someone because they haven't done the job yet. Like, what's your best person you see succeeding?
Our ideal customer is somebody, the more experienced, the better. I've seen newbies without any experience definitely have success. But it's probably a little bit more the exception than the rule. Somebody who's, maybe doing a couple deals a month, 1 or 2 deals a month, but they're trying to grow their business and scale. They do really well too, but having a sales process in place is really important, especially with a lead manager. I won't even offer a lead manager if they don't have a good sales process in place, because you don't know what to delegate if you haven't been in the trenches long enough and you don't know, where you need the help. Cold calling and texting, if you're just trying to generate leads and you've got a solid plan and you can put the time into working the leads once they come into your system, they're not just going to sit. I've seen a lot of people have success, but typically the more experience, the better people do, just because, that just goes with anything, if you have a good sales process, we're really confident that we're going to be able to send you good leads. And I'm sure you see that, the same thing in your company too, Brian. Probably the people who with the more experience are the ones who typically stay around the longest.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question, because I know in our business, if you're brand new in a business, you're not a fit for us. You'll be a fit for us at some time, but you got to go and do the hustle mode and sweat first. You have to learn it. And then once you know it, then you can delegate what you know. People that are brand new in the space, sometimes I see them trying to delegate things that they don't know, relying on the VA's experience to teach them. And that's a recipe for disaster.
100% that.
Well, cool, man. Thanks for coming on, Sean. We appreciate you.
This has been really good, Brian. Good to connect with you in the virtual world. Look forward to seeing you in person next time. I really appreciate the opportunity, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Hey, everyone, thanks for listening. Get out there, crush it, close some deals. We'll see you guys.